Need tools? We've got you covered. Go to ChromebookParts.com or click on the link below to pick up this sleek, portable toolkit. Flip the unit over and unscrew 10 capped-up screws from the bottom cover. Remove the stylus and gently insert the opener pick between the palmrest and the bottom cover. Slide along the edges to pop the bottom cover free. Unplug the battery from the motherboard. Peel off the plastic covering and remove one 2.5mm screw from the Wi-Fi card. Gently pull back to remove the Wi-Fi card from the motherboard. Remove 8 4mm screws from the motherboard. Remove the metal bracket. Flip open the locking clip and unplug the LCD cable from the motherboard. Unplug the stylus charger from the motherboard. Unplug the speakers from the motherboard. Flip open the locking clip and unplug the palmrest cable from the motherboard. Peel back the tape, flip open the locking clip, and unplug the touchpad cable from the motherboard. Flip open the locking clips and unplug the daughterboard cables from the motherboard. Lift up and pull back on the motherboard, taking care not to bend or damage the ports. Remove 4 4mm screws from the daughterboard. Remove the metal bracket and lift up and pull back to remove the daughterboard, taking care not to bend or damage the ports. Remove 4 4mm screws from the battery. Unseat the stylus charger cable from its grooves. And use the metal spudger to pry the stylus charger free. Remove the speakers and unwind their cable from its groove. Peel back the tape, flip open the locking clip, and unplug the touchpad cable from the touchpad. Remove 4 5mm screws from the touchpad. These can be found underneath the flaps. Lift the palm rest partway up and push down to pop the touchpad free from the palm rest. Remove 6 4.5mm screws from the hinges. Unseat the antenna cables from their grooves. Lift the palm rest halfway up and wiggle it free from the LCD assembly. Replace the palm rest, lining it up with the hinges. And replace the 6 4.5mm screws into the hinges. Reseat the antenna cables back into their grooves. Slide the touchpad back into place. And replace the 4 5mm screws back into the touchpad. Plug the touchpad cable back into the touchpad. Replace the speakers, and wind the speaker cables back into their grooves. This can take a while, so we are going to fast forward through some of it. Here's what the speaker cable path looks like when it's all finished. Replace the Stylus charger back into its slot. And replace the Stylus charger cable back into its grooves. Replace the battery, and replace the 4 4mm screws. Replace the Daughterboard back into its ports. Replace the metal bracket. and replace the 4 4mm screws back into the daughterboard. Replace the motherboard back into its ports, and be sure to remove all the cables out from underneath. Plug the Wi-Fi card back into the motherboard. Plug the daughterboard cables back into the motherboard. Plug the touchpad cable back into the motherboard. Plug the Palmrest cable back into the motherboard. Plug the speaker cable back into the motherboard. Plug the Stylus charger back into the motherboard. And finally, plug the LCD cable back into the motherboard. Make sure the LCD cable fits back into its groove. Replace one 2.5mm screw back into the Wi-Fi card. Replace the plastic covering. Replace the metal bracket. And replace the 8 4mm screws back into the motherboard. Plug the battery back into the motherboard. Replace the bottom cover. And tighten the 10 captive screws.